morning. Good morning.
Are you enjoying the conference? Yes. I hope you will be enjoying this session because this couple is a mix between training experience plus professional experience and implementing PMOs. So I met Tariq several years ago. He's a dynamic speaker. His colleague is also a practitioner in PMO. So Tariq is a dynamic and ambitious speaker, project manager, and business manager with high profile in terms of knowledge and real experience. He is very, very passionate on project management in terms of spreading out, knowledge and practices. He has been, more than 15 years in the field, and he loves project management. Important key point. And Sunil is a qualified technocrat and dynamic networking professional, having over 14 years of rich and insightful experience, including over 3 years of international experiences, also in different countries. So this set of multinational experience will be a great asset to do. Yeah? Okay. I repeat for you. This set, the mic, I don't kind of have it. No? No mic. Can you hear me in the back?
Yeah.
In the back?
Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah. We got a mic there.
Okay, sorry about that. Can you hear me? Much better, I think. So I was sharing with you that the mix between Tariq and Sunil, they are dynamic speakers and dynamic professionals. I am completely sure that you will be happy with his talk because they are based on practical and international experience. So please join me on welcoming Tariq Al-Raki and Sunil Beni. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Before starting our presentation, let's share with us this video, please. Your question, what is the relationship between those projects and the PMO system? Am I right? Yes?
Yes.
Now, the question here that we had and we have and we are having projects, programs, and portfolios, whether old projects, new projects, programs, all of them, they're running with systems. With systems. Either very initial system or very professional system. That's why we are here, to discuss something called PMO tool or Project Management Office System. How can we maximize the business value behind choosing the right PMO system? Now, before we start our learning objectives, let me go through, before the challenges, let me stop for a while with the word choosing. Now, what do you think about choosing the right PMO system? Is it selection? Is it selection? How many yeses do you have? Is it only selection? No. Is it implementation? No. Is it deployment? No. Is it all of them? Yes. That's why myself and my co-author Sunil, we are going to discuss a roadmap, clear roadmap to all of you. You are professionals, you have experience on how to select, implement, and deploy your PMO system in order to maximize your business value behind your PMO system. And by the way, we are going to discuss this paper, this presentation from two sides. Where in fact, we had a story between me and Sunil. We met before 8 months in a project called PMO System in one of the companies. And we decided to write this paper after the project. So this is based on practical experience, very similar to case study, in addition to business orientation and technical orientation. What's missed with our PMO systems, sometimes we go through only technicalities, and sometimes we go through only business orientation. We need to mix between them. That's why we are here. That's why I started with this, just to draw the clear outlines for our presentation. So what's next? Before we start with the PMO systems, let's go through some of our challenges as PMO. We keep saying PMO is the solution. PMO is the key. But we have problems. And we cannot deny that we do have problems. Examples. In 2008, the PMO implementation failure rate is over 50%. 1. 2. 68% of our stakeholders perceive their PMOs to be bureaucratic. And one of which is our PMO system. Am I right, Mr. Frank? Third, only a third of all projects were successfully completed on time and on budget. And unfortunately, and supposedly, if you have good PMO systems with good business orientation and technical orientation, we don't have to have these figures. Am I right? So what to do? Let's have a look first about our PMO tool today. When you think about the PMO tool, we think about scale of use based on control offered. What do you need to control in our PMO system? Price, benefits, the prices offered in the market. Is it expensive tool? Is it cheap tool? Or ease of setup. Can we do it in 1 month? Can we do it in 3 months? Can we do it in 8 months?
8 months.
It depends. Or technology platform offering. Is it good technology? Is it cloud-based? Is it on-premise based? What needs to be done? So the last thing here is readiness of the organization. Are we ready to receive the PMO system? Sometimes, and I've been practicing this with many companies, we bring the best systems, the most expensive systems, but we cannot use them. Am I right? So what to do? We need to make sure successful implementation. And we need, the most important thing to me is the usage of the system. We don't need to bring the system without usage. Just to tell everyone that we have PMO system and we are still sending emails. Yeah? So after that, let's focus on what's important, what is the important thing in our PMO tool. Question, how do you prefer your PMO tool to look like? This is the first question you have to ask yourself, whether PMO people, whether project managers, whether top management. How do we would like to a PMO tool to look like? Let's have a look on the current systems and what do we expect in the future systems. So in the current systems, we are talking about standardization, to standardize the processes of our PMO systems. We are talking about senior management decisions, approvals from steering committees, if we approve the change requests. Okay, approvals from the project managers for the timesheet managers and our team members. Or governance, to make sure that our people are forced enough to follow the PMO processes through our system, unfortunately. And then the last thing here is aligning the resources calibration with the industry standards and grab the new resources either from the company or outside the company to our PMO system. Is this enough? How many yeses do you have here? Is this enough? No, big no. That's why we are looking for the future. As Mr. Michel Thierry said, and many speakers mentioned in this Congress, we are running after changing organization. program management, and portfolio management more and more in future. That's why we are running after complexity, more complex projects, more complex programs, many projects together and reported to one PMO. And we are running after project management everywhere, everyone. Everywhere, everyone. Can you use your iPhone? Yes. Can you use your PMO system? No. Unfortunately. So now we are talking about accessing the PMO from our iPad, or from our iPhone, or from Galaxy. Yes? Can you access the Gantt chart from your iPhone? This is a good question, without mentioning names of the companies. So in the future, we are looking to have the system everywhere with us. Can we have the schedule everywhere in the plan, for example, or in the office, or at home? We are talking about change, big change, how to facilitate the change, and how to have the benefits. And finally, we want to attach more and more our PMO system with our social network. In the last Congress, I had full paper about social media in program, portfolio, and projects. And here we need to attach more and more our PMO system to be more prompt with our stakeholders. Can we publish our latest milestone directly to Facebook? Can we publish the latest milestone on Instagram just to tell the people where are we now and to understand more and more about our projects? So in the past, with the PMO system, we were talking about process-oriented. We want a system to control the project managers, to control the team members, in order to make sure that our system is implemented and the PMO processes are implemented. In the future, we want to go for result-oriented. That's why I told you I need the project management software to be everywhere, with everyone from any place, and to be attached with our stakeholders more and more, not only to follow the processes. As we are talking always in our PMI Congresses, process-oriented, and now we are talking about benefits and results, even with our PMO system. The PMO system should facilitate this. Of course, with social network. What about the business value? And that's why we are here. Let me stop here with the business value. What do you mean by business value behind our PMO system? Capabilities that we need to deliver. And in order to deliver those capabilities, we need to think about 3 stages. The selection stage, the design and implementation stage, and then deployment stage. Our paper is all about what to do in each and every stage, very clear, to have a clear roadmap in order to select, implement, and deploy our PMO system or tool. Now, let's start with the selection. Now, in the selection, we need to think about 2 aspects, 2 groups. We need to think about our projects and what needs to be done in our projects. And we need to think about our organization. Let me focus on one thing here. Can we isolate our projects from our company? No. Can we isolate our system from HR department, let's say? Financial department, procurement department, stopping the payment? So we want to design our PMO system not only for us, project managers and PMO director. We need to design the PMO system for everyone in the company in order to communicate with them easily. That's why if you look at the project, of course, with the business value, and keep focusing on the business value, because if we continue focusing on these aspects, we will gain the business value out of our PMO system. Now, what about projects or organization? Organization level, we think about the integration between the business areas that we have in our company. That's why before designing the PMO system, we need to understand what are the departments, who are the groups who are dealing with the PMO system. in order to facilitate the integration between the enterprise. Provide information for different levels of stakeholders, and we'll go through that later on in this presentation to provide more and more who will deal with the stakeholders. The third thing here, support dynamic changing environment and priorities. The PMO system should be very dynamic, very fast, and very prompt to our project managers, PMO, and even stakeholders. And the third thing here, support the organizational standard and consistency across the projects. For example, if we have HR, let's say, department, with HR resources in the company, and we have pool of resources in our PMO system, and both resources cannot talk to each other, can we implement the PMO system? The answer is no, especially if we have matrix companies. So if you want to hire a resource, then the resources are not defined everywhere in the company. So the PMO system will stop. Will stop in terms of implementation, in terms of integration with our company. And the second thing here is projects. What do you need to consider in terms of projects? The first thing is we need to understand how to map and support the PMO processes. What was the first thing we did when we started our project together?
The first thing, in fact, was just to understand what the current process is.
Excellent.
And where they are planning to go.
Yes.
So we had a projection of what is there right now in the system and what was the objective. And then we had a gap that we needed to bridge it. And that is how we started the project. Yes.
So we started with the processes first, and we mapped all the PMO processes and the supported processes in order to facilitate our PMO system. Otherwise, if we don't have clear processes, we'll pay a lot without any benefit. And the second thing here, analyze your teams. And we'll go through this later on. Are they ready to receive the PMO system? Are they very well educated to receive and to use the PMO system? The third thing here, simplify and reduce the administrative burdens. If the team member has to click 15 clicks before filling the project charter, then I don't want the PMO system. Let the PMO system go to somewhere else. One of the main things that we discussed in our meetings, how many clicks I want to reduce in each and every process in order to reach to the document, in order to send the document for approval. The lesser, the better. Because if you want to spend 2 hours in just filling the charter with a system, and you can fill the charter in 15 minutes and send it by email, so you'll send it in 15 minutes, better than 2 hours. And the third thing, or the fourth thing here, is build your knowledge base. One of the most important things in our project management and projects is lessons learned. So we need to keep an area to have our knowledge base and to build our knowledge management within our PMO system. Lessons learned, previous estimates, previous plans, photos from the sites, and different issues from different projects. So what about the design? How can we design our PMO system? So the first thing here, we should discuss these steps. And partially, I'll cover the business side, and my co-author will cover the technical side, just to be very practical. The first thing is to assess the stakeholder group, then assess the corporate culture, then assess the organization user base, then assess current and future technology. Let's start with the stakeholder group. Who deals with the PMO? The first question, who deals with the PMO? Are they project managers? Are they providers, suppliers, subcontractors, external companies, authorities, CEOs, senior management? Who are they? And how can we facilitate their usage? One of the companies back in Dubai, they used to have local systems. And then when they implemented a new system, without mentioning names, they kept calling the IT director, we can't implement the system. We can't use the system. Let's go back to our email system. It's better. So again, we need to discuss who will deal with the PMO system and how to ease the implementation and the usage of their PMO system. The second thing here is in the stakeholder group, we need to focus on 5 areas. Project approvals. Who will approve the changes? Who will approve the projects? And the second thing, project reporting. How can you report the progress? How can you send the charter? And then interaction with others. How can we guarantee the interaction between groups, between the stakeholders, between the team members, and between other parts of the company? And here, the most important thing is decision making. If the PMO system cannot guarantee and minimize the time taken for decision making, then it's nothing. We need to be very prompt, faster and faster, more agile, more fast, in order to support our PMO system and support our decision making. Now, a question. These 3 parts are so important. And as one of the speakers mentioned yesterday, I like his presentation, what do you mean by process maturity and process capability? And the same thing goes here. How can we assess that our PMO system is capable? Is it only tool? No. Is it only process? No. Is it only people? No. 3 of them. So in order to make sure that our PMO system is not only mature, but capable to be implemented in our environment, we need to guarantee all these factors. And that's why we have small activity and small exercise for everyone here. Hands up. Show me your hands first. Yes, everyone here. Okay, thank you very much. Let's start with those questions. Please read them all for 2 minutes only. Read them all, and then we'll start to answer them together with our hands. I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah. Mr. Talik. That's okay.
Sorry. I'm short. Nobody is perfect. Yeah.
In fact, I would suggest that we can do this exercise jointly. So, would you like to help me out answering the first question? So, how many of you have a central project management system in your organization? Do you have it in your system, in our organization? Okay, excellent. So, half the crowd has it, so that's nice. The second one, type of central management software do you have? So there are different types of software that you would like, that you have in the market. Some of them are cloud-based solutions, some of them are on-premise. So if you're aware of it, it's okay. If you're not aware, it's okay. If someone who's aware of it, just can you help me answer that? How many of you have a cloud-based EPM solution there? That's nice.
Do you know what's cloud? Cloud is from everywhere. It's not on-premise from your company. Yeah. It's from the internet website. Okay?
And then how many of you are using a system which is on-premise based? That's great. That's a good number. That's a good number. Okay. With the question number 3, I also wanted to understand, does your EPM cover the portfolio management? Because generally, as you already are aware, that EPM should take care of your portfolio, program, and project management. Many of the systems just cover only the program and project management, but do you have a portfolio management system? How many would like to raise the hand? Okay, just a few? Okay, so that's going to show the maturity of the organization as well as the processes that you have. So it's not mandatory that every organization should have a portfolio management, but it is need-based. So some of the organizations are good with program management or with project management only. Yeah. Question number 4. I'm not too sure whether all of you are aware of it or not, but does your EPM integrate with other applications within the organization, like HR functions, IT, marketing? Okay, so there are quite a few hands raised here. That's great. So what we are seeing here with all these hands raised is that what's the level of complexity that a solution that you have can be implemented, or do you have any organization? So there is a chance, there is a possibility of your looking at your system, whether the system can or does enable you to integrate with other applications. If no, then you need to look at whether do you need any other system to help you with that. Okay, I think question number 5 is good for all of us. do you perceive that your team members and your resources, are they well trained to use the PMO system? Yes. Do you agree? How
Only
many
two.
of you agree?
Only
Okay,
three.
that's great. 3. How many of you don't agree? Okay.
Okay.
A mixed crowd, mixed response. Okay. Sorry? Okay.
Yeah.
Partially agree. Okay. So we would also like to know, are you able to use the PMO tool or the EPM system to its fullest extent at this moment? Yes.
With the whole
How
features
many
that you
of
have?
Strongly agree? Okay, just 1. And how many of you say that you're not using the system to its fullest extent? Okay, so we have a good chance here to look at what we can do more, right? So do you consider your PMO system a future state? Do you consider your PMO system future state in the current design?
How many of you? Did
How
you
many of
consider
you are
the
aware of
future
that?
state or not? How many of you? Yes. How many yeses do you have? How many no's do you have?
Okay.
How many not sure?
I think rest all
Yeah.
are not sure.
Yeah.
So what this exercise tells us is, are we planning a PMO system in advance the right way or not? So what are we missing? So we might be missing the 3 processes out of 3 processes. Are we missing the process? Are we missing the tool? Or are we missing the people part of the implementation? So we're going to look at that in detail now.
Thank you very much. And another question should be raised. What is the type, and by the way, we can categorize the PMO as we want, but what is the type of your PMO? In terms of processes, people, and PMO tool. Do you have some single projects to manage, very simple projects to manage only? Or do you have multi-projects with resources, and do you want to manage those resources together? Or do you have full portfolio management? On the other hand, do you need the PMO tool only just for planning and tracking? Or are we concerned with the resource management? Or are we concerned with the portfolio systems? These questions should be raised before the design of the PMO system. Now, please, Sunil.
Oh yeah, thank you. Now this is where I come in from the technology point of view, because we also would like to understand, of course we did a good study, assuming that we are implementing an EPM solution. We did a good study of the processes.
Okay.
What would be the process that I would like to have my EPM start with? You know, the project starts with initiation and all this, right? So how would you like to have it implemented into the system? So we need to answer a few questions before you look at any EPM solution. So are your resources or the team members are technology savvy? It's not a bad thing that your resources, the team members in your organization are not tech savvy, because their job does not require them to do, right? So there are a lot of HR functions, or there are a lot of finance functions, there are a lot of manufacturing processes which, or the resources there are not required to be tech savvy. They need to be ensuring that they are good with their functional processes. So you need to look at what's your proportion of the resources which would be using the system, consider that, and then try to understand, are they tech savvy? Can you train them? Is it possible? How much time do you need to train them, right? Is it possible for you to implement a new system? Because there are a lot of people, or a lot of folks out here who are used to Windows, right? For example, me, I would not like to move to iPhone or Android platform. I'm a Microsoft guy, right? So for me, it's very difficult to go and use an iPhone. I would buy an iPhone for my son or for my wife, but I would not buy for myself because I'm comfortable using Microsoft, right? So same thing. So same thing happens with your resources, with your team members who would like to be preferring a same set of users, right? So today you are using an Excel-based application, and then tomorrow you look at a system which is very advanced. Like I'll give an example, like SAP system. So if you compare Excel-based system to SAP system, it's going to be a huge transformation. Is it possible? Is it doable in a short time? It's not possible. So what do? You basically do an incremental update, right? Not just on the technology, but on the resources too. So how do you plan your transformation about the resources? How do you plan your implementation of the project? So those are the factors that you need to look at. Well, that's how. So considering all that, we just need to answer a question ourselves. What do we have answers for these? This is the initial start. It's not the only start or only question, but there are a lot of questions that will come forward when you look at implementation of EPM. I think most of us would agree, because most of you had some kind of challenges during their implementation or their usage. Yes? How many of you agree that they had issues? Of course, it's not a bad thing to have issues. It's good that because when you have issues, you know you can resolve it and then you can move forward, and that all of us are looking in the same direction. Now, coming to the technology part or the layout. Now, we know that the PMOs, our esteemed colleagues, I attended quite a few sessions here, and I learned a lot from my esteemed colleagues. They also highlighted what's a PMO and where do you see the organization coming from. So there have been a gradual change in the organization setup. An organization needs to change and adapt and be agile, right? So we need to also ensure our technology is also playing the same role. Now, there are a lot of disruptive technologies that are coming into picture. Now, someone called it disruptive technology, I don't know for some reason, but it makes sense. When you look at companies which were a giant, a multi-billion-dollar giants, as of today, they're not there. Like yesterday's story, I hope everyone knows about it. Verizon acquired AOL. If you remember, AOL had a merger with the Time Warner. The deal was around $150 billion mammoth. So that was the scale of the organization. As of yesterday, Verizon bought AOL for $4 billion. What was the downfall of AOL and other giants that you look at? They were slow to adapt. You look at Nokia. Nokia is the famous example when you look at iPhone and Nokia. Nokia lost its market share. It lost its market completely to iPhone in a span of 4 years. Why? They were not ready to change. They were not able to adapt. So you look at the PMO system. PMO system is just a part of it. But again, as an organization, if you want to evolve, you need to look at how well you can grow and whether your systems are helping your resources or your team members grow accordingly. If you look at the past, the PMOs have been designed in a segmentized manner. They were still initial phases. It was not considered an art or a science. It was just considered as a process. If you look at the current state, the present state, you have a lot of PMOs which are industrialized, domain expertise-wise. You have a lot of systems which are specific to domain, but may work, may not work, because if you look at the sampling of the domain-wise or industrialized PMO systems, it's not good. So what's missing? We need to look at that too. Now, where we think the PMO would be going ahead. The future of the PMOs is basically, as Mr. Tariq mentioned in the earlier slides, PMO should be available everywhere to everyone in every platform. That's the future. Now, I am a project manager, a program manager today, but I'm sure all of you are project managers and program managers one or the other way. May not be technically, may not be from a functional role, but you are because you're planning ahead. You know you have to attend a 9 o'clock session, you need to take a train or a bus or a cab at 8 o'clock, you need to be here by 8:30. So you're planning ahead. So in one or the other way, all of us are project managers, managing our own time, managing our own business, managing our own functions. So if you look at tomorrow, when we talk about the future PMOs, what do you mean by everyone everywhere? Again, you're highlighting that as a project manager, you're preparing a plan, but your vendors are also preparing their own plan as to how to ensure that your plan is not disrupted. So everyone's acting as a PM in a day-to-day life. That's going to be the future now. And the complexity will become a norm. Today we call it a complexity, but it will be a norm tomorrow. The last point, I think I just want to highlight that social network, which Mr. Tariq, my colleague, just mentioned. How do you perceive a social network acting or playing an active role there? So when you look at social network, it's a driver of change. Your PMO system may not talk to the social network like Facebook or Twitter per se, but of course you need to have a social network within your organization. So you do have some kind of social network, right? Do you have a corporate social network within your organization? How many say yes? Excellent. So why do you need that? We did not have the social network earlier in 2-3 years back, right? Why did we have in the last 2 years? Because we wanted to ensure that everyone's connected. We know who's who there. In a large organization of 1,000 people, you don't know who's working on so-and-so project. So you may want to know, rather than going through the chain of command, it would be too late. So what would you like to do is like a system where you can actually look at the person's profile and see whether he or she is the right fit for the requirements that I'm working on. Yeah? So that's cutting short your time. So the same way, the PMO system also should ensure that the information that you need to run a project, to talk to a resource, to talk to the stakeholders, the reports that you need are all available all the time. So that's going to be the future PMO that we perceive, and there are a lot of tools, technologies that are promising, which will enable you to have a future PMOs. Of course, do you have a PMO which is a fixed and static? No, there are no tools. The tools are there just for usage, and there's no tool which is perfect, but what we need to do is a continuous assessment, enhancement activity. So it's not just a tool, it's the processes that we need to update, it's the people calibration that we need to go through. So this is basically a continuous activity. Now, I don't want to bore you to death from the technical point of view, but I'm sure I just ensure that all the points that I mentioned here are not too technical, right? So I'm sure that most of us are aware of SaaS, the term called SaaS, software as a service, right? How many of us are aware of SaaS, software as a service?
Good.
Excellent.
Excellent.
So for the rest of the folks that are down here, the software as a service is a model where you use the application for your usage only. So you don't need to buy a $100,000 application at one shot. You just buy application for a 1 month for $50, $60, $100 per usage. That's it. So that's basically a software application available on the cloud. Now, I have highlighted few things which are pros and cons. Now, we cannot conclusively say that a SaaS-based application, EPM, is good for you, or on-premise is good for all. That's not true. There are situations where you see a SaaS-based application working well for an organization because the organization still in its initial stages. It is still working, it's still ensuring that the processes are taken care. They're trying to mature the processes, they're trying to ensure the people in the organization are getting matured, not in terms of age and experience, but of course in terms of process understanding, utilization of the tools and all that. That's where we call the maturity. So it depends, right? I think there was a session day for yesterday or yesterday, I'm not too sure, but we had a good discussion about project management and change. So there was a topic about, can you teach program management or project management in a university? There was a session, right? There was a session, but yes, there was my esteemed colleague who took the session, and there is a course now available, program management, in universities. The same way, can you ensure project management methods are taught to everyone? Yes, it is possible. And how we do it is, it depends on how we receive it and how it's delivered. So, coming back to this table, I just wanted to highlight what are the differences and what are the challenges that you look at, but it all goes on to the fact that how well you identify the processes, how well you identify the scope, how well you identify your current and future requirement, and then you can come up with the best solution, whether it's going to be a SaaS-based application or it's going to be an on-premise-based application. This is just a quick reference of the cost, the feature, the usage. 3 different platforms or the products that we perceive that are there in the market from our experience. We call it OEM product tools, we call it open source, we call custom solutions. So just to give you a quick introduction, OEM products are the ones which are available off the shelf, ready to buy. Of course, they come at the high cost, but their features are on a higher side. Open source, they come at the low cost. There are some limitations of features, and there are hundreds and thousands of it available in the market. Custom solutions are the ones that have been developed at your expense for your need, for your processes only. So there is a trade-off. There is always a trade-off between the cost and the feature and the usage and the support based on the technology that you choose. Now, this actually gives you a quick answer as to which system is the best. There is no system which is the best. It depends on what your usage is, what your processes are, how your resources in the organization are going to take these the system. So one size does not fit all. It never. That's not true. It's how we implement the application according to the organization need will drive whether it's going to be a successful project or it's going to be a failure project. This is the current assessment that we have, and it's very true because in my past 15 years experience, I started as a developer, freelance developer, then paid developer, then leads. Then I went into a different stream altogether where I was handling the customers from the customer support. And then project manager, program manager, played a different role in the organization from corporate level executive to, I have wear a different hat all the time. So sometimes I'm a project manager, sometimes I'm a program manager, sometimes I'm a developer because I need to play a different role based on the needs that are there. So with all this 15 years of activity in IT industry, this purely IT industry, so I would say that there's no product which is always right. It's all how you use the product, it's all how you implement the product, it's all how the product is customized to your need. That drives the success, it's not the product. Of course, select what suits the organization best. So we need to look at, don't look at solution A, solution B is ruling the market. That may not be right for you. So you need to choose what's right. You don't wear the same dressing which everyone's wearing, right? You have a different brand, you have a different size, so one size does not fit all. That's the conclusion of it. I would like to hand over to Mr. Tariq about the processes. We covered the tool section, the technology section, we covered the people section, now we're going to cover the processes section. Thank you.
Now, thank you very much. Now, the last thing here, we discussed how to select and how to implement, how to design it, and how to deploy. Now, if you select the best one that can suit our organization, then we design it with the best choices of developers. Okay, can we guarantee that we have the business value again and again? The answer is no. We need to have the deployment. And in the deployment, we need to have these stages, these proposed stages. The first, we need to have a PMO system training. If you have enterprise PMO system, that we need to make sure that everyone is trained on this PMO system. Sometimes we have PM technical tool training. Like for example, without mentioning products, Microsoft Project has local tool, and it has APM, enterprise tool. Some of the features are not available with the enterprise. So the project manager would like to go, for example, for the critical path. The critical path is not available there. So here we go. We need to train the people both on the tool sometime, because you have good full knowledge on the tool itself, and on the PMO system, the enterprise system that can guarantee the communication and the approval between the stakeholders and the senior management. And then one important stage here, we need to guarantee the PMO tool process mentoring. If we don't coach our people on the processes aligned with the PMO system, then they will miss the path. Because if you design, for example, initiation process, how to select the project, how to implement the project, how to plan the project, how to close the project, if you don't coach them on these processes aligned with the system, then people will take it only technical oriented. And then after that, to make sure that the system is up and running, we need to go through pilot stage. So we cannot tell them right from day number one after finishing the implementation of the system, go and use the system. So we need to have training, tool, processes, then have the full thing together for pilot stage. Well, it depends upon the stakeholders, whether they are trained enough, they are knowledgeable enough. This might take 3 months, 1 year to have pilot projects, selected projects, to make sure that they can use the system by their hands. We'll go through this. And then we'll go through the full-fledged system to make sure that we have full implementation, deployment for our system. Now, in the PMO system training, I need to highlight the thing of manual. One of the main mistakes that we do have in our industry is that we prepare the PMO system with very complicated manuals. Am I right? So the users are not ready to read even the manuals. You need to customize the manuals to the knowledge, to the experience of your users and stakeholders. And what we did in our experience, we have both versions. Separated versions, just small manuals for each type of stakeholders, and full manual if you want to review your role and others' roles. So we tried our best to make sure that we are comprehensive with all the users in order to know their role, their specific role in the system, and their others' role in the same system. And engage all the PMO system stakeholders, and then align the PMO tool processes and approvals, of course, with the system. The second thing here is this is, for example, sample of the system manuals that we had in our last project. And then this is an example, again, for the dashboard that we are having now in the same system. Both of them are customized, aligned to our needs. As we see, very simple, the processes with the manual. The processes to make sure that they know the processes behind the system, and very simple manual. And then very simple dashboard to be read by the senior management. Simplicity is the key. And then we have the PMO tool. As we said, we need to select a supporting tool, if any, like Microsoft Project, for example, synchronize between the local systems and cloud ones, if any. Now, one of the main issues that we have in our systems sometimes, what about if the project manager updates his schedule, and then he did not, for example, update the system, the enterprise system? So the whole reporting system will be stopped. Okay. That's why we need to guarantee that these processes are clear to our stakeholders to make sure that the reporting is very clear and the updates are very clear. And the last thing here, we need to map again and again and integrate the operational processes and the PMO tool processes. During the training, you need to mention for your stakeholders the alignment between the operational processes and the PMO processes. Tell them that the payment will be done in the financial systems, and this will be aligned with our PMO processes and PMO system. If not, they will hit the wall, to be frank. So this is very basic. How can we pay our vendors? How can we pay our suppliers? We need to integrate all processes and to mentor them on both of them. Then the pilot stage. Pilot stage, I prefer, or we do suggest, to select 5 to 7 projects to test the system. Sometimes it's not your mistake, not their mistake, even the stakeholders. Maybe you have some bugs with the system. We need to fix some of the processes. Some of the processes might stop, so we might have pilot projects. And what's important is the workshops. Basically, let them have dirty hands. At the beginning, they will start to call you. Every day, we don't know anything. It's very complicated. Then later, if you mentor them, pilot them, and then go to workshops. In our company, we had initiation workshops, planning workshops, execution workshops, closing workshops, to make sure that each and every processes are well understood and well aligned with the whole stakeholders and other processes. By the way, this might take a year long. And we are planning in our company to have this pilot stage for 1 year, complete 1 year, just to make sure that it's very well understood, very well implemented, and they know the system inside out. Now, what about the full-fledged system utilization? Now we have the system ready, and they start to use the system, but it's not stopped, because we need to have continuous improvement, continuous analysis for our system. Do you have certain updates? Do you have new versions? Do you have new features? Can you align new features coming from the system with our company? And continuous alignment with the processes. What if we have a change in the financial processes? What if we have a change in the HR processes, in the procurement processes? Again, we need to update the system. So and this is the role of the PMO, by the way. This is our role, to make sure that these processes are continuously aligned with our PMO system. The last thing here in deployment, just recommendation. Proceed slowly and incrementally. As we said, don't tell them, today you have to start your homework. Today you have to start implementing and executing the projects using the system. Train, train, train. The more training, the better the stakeholders, the better the people, the better the projects. If they have deep understanding, both for the processes, teach the new ones, the tool, the people, both of them will be integrated and then have better system and better implementation. One of the main points that I need to focus here on plan the handover with all concerned parties. In mattress companies, once we finish the system, you remember that stage, we make sure that all the concerned parties in the same company are fully aligned. What about the IT department? Are they aligned? Afterwards, they will come to you and say, it's not our problem. It was not executed under our control. Am I right? What about the financial people? What about the procurement people? What about other departments? The handover should cover all related departments, especially with big organizations, like 20,000 people, many departments altogether. So the handover is very important to make sure that we start from the first line. Conclusion. Let me wrap up. Let me summarize in a very simple way, very simple way. Maximize the business value. It's not obtained by just selection, as we said. It's selection, implementation, and deployment of our PMO system. Then we have to focus on the product lifecycle. How many years are you going to use this system? How many years are you going to use this system, and this system can be obsolete after 3, 5 years, 10 years? How many times we select a system, and then after 5 years or 3 years or maybe 1 year, we go to our senior management, sir, we need to change it. We paid this amount of dollars, and now we need to change it. And that's why PMO is a source of not income, source of burdens. Yeah? So we need to manage our product life cycle. How many years are you going to use these systems? 1, what are the expected features in our systems? What are the expected processes, and what are our expected changes? These things are so important as part of our product life cycle. Here we have the technical design, but extends the people and processes, as we said. And the last thing here, tailor the PMO tool to the organizational maturity level. And by the way, one of the seniors, not in our company, but other company, external company, said in their PMO, Tarek, do you have simple system? I said, yes. Let's start with this. Because he believed that the company is not mature enough to use at least, for example, Microsoft project. Why? Because they were not ready. So as an expert, as PMO people, you need to assess the maturity level. Are we mature enough? Are we ready enough to use this system? If you go to Google and write PMO systems, you will come up with a list of systems, even with ranking. But can you customize them? Yes or no? Can you use them? Yes or no? Do you have ready processes for them? Yes or no? So, in my opinion, this is the whole thing. Maturity level and the PMO system.
Should go hand in hand.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, before we start with the questions, I would like to just to highlight something as part of our international message. This fruitful cooperation came after a really good cooperation between different cultures, yes. Different religions, different people, but with one common thing, which is project management. So I need you, all of you, to stand up, please. And let's say together, we will change the world. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please, questions?
Yeah, for all the questions, please, we have a microphone here.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. In my particular experience, when you are implementing a PMO tool in an organization, as you said, one of the most important things to do is just obviously analyze and identify the right stakeholders. And one of them, obviously, is the sponsor of the implementation of PMO. How did you deal with, in your particular experience, implementing the tool regarding
getting upper management support to get the tool really implemented, understood, and as you said, customized regarding the stakeholder needs.
Excellent question. Now, yesterday I mentioned in one of the sessions that why don't we blame ourselves as PMO? What about simplifying the processes of approving the project? One. What about simplifying the dashboard? Why don't we have to mention SPI, CPI, SB, and so many things? What they don't care. They care about their objectives. So one of the things that we showed in our presentation, very simple dashboard. In order to understand, if they want more, we can provide more and more. And by the way, one of the most important things in these systems is to get the support and the buy-in of the sponsor. Because at the end of the day, they will approve the projects, they will select the projects, and they will support you in the implementation and deployment of your PMO system. So yes, my answer will be one word, simplicity. Keep it very simple and business-oriented. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Frank.
Yes.
Excellent talk, Tarek, and thank you. It obviously shows a lot of experience.
Thank you very much.
When you implement a PMO, you're changing how people in the organization work. What were the parts of the organizational culture that you found it most difficult to deal with?
Finance.
Finance?
To be frank, finance, yes, finance. Because usually, well, it depends upon the culture and the company. But usually financial people, with due respect to all financial people here, they want to control the budget. And even if you have an approved budget, and maybe you have experience in this, they will start to negotiate. What about approved budget of the project, but what if we have reduction here, reduction there, and reduction? So the approval of the budget mainly, in our organization, we had a problem with this. Yeah, to be frank. Yeah, thank you.
I'm afraid we've only time for one more question.
One more question.
So
Yes.
Okay.
Please, who's interested?
Yeah.
Thank you, Tarek. We have a running PMO, right? So we're now moving to a strategic level PMO. We're working on a functional level with the projects. Would you advise on, for example, to take these processes that we have now and try to realign them, or just start with a total new process and roll it out?
My advice, just review your functional level processes and try to map them with the current processes, because you'll have two problems. Now, your project managers are totally well-trained on your processes. Am I right? If you're going to come up with new processes, then you have to change the whole thing, the entire thing. So my advice, as per your information now, first map the process that you have with the functional managers, then try to align them with your updated PMO processes. If yes, so be it, go through the process. If no, then check it out.
Many a times, I may want to add to it. Many a times what happens that if you are not able to convince your internal folks, right, so it would be a good option to bring the third party, conduct a workshop, and because what happens, a third party's view may be acceptable, and they would assess and then give you suggestions, recommendations as to how you can go about it. And of course, when people talk to third people and understand what's their point of view, they may also agree to that. So if you have feedback or coming back which is not good enough from internal forces, when you do workshop, it's good to bring in third party. That will help you out. Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you.
I think we're out of time, I'm afraid. So please, once again, show your appreciation for Sunil and Tarek.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.